The quiet evening sky was suddenly shattered by an unearthly hum. At first, no one understood what it was. People thought it was just another passing plane, or maybe some sort of storm, but it didn't feel right. The hum grew louder, a strange, low vibration that seemed to pulse through the air, making the hairs on the back of people's necks stand on end. Then, without warning, the sky lit up with an intense, flickering light, something never before seen by human eyes. It wasn't the usual flicker of lightning or the shimmer of stars, but a bright, unnatural glow that rippled across the heavens. All around the world, people stopped in their tracks. They glanced up, eyes wide with confusion and growing fear. The light grew brighter, more intense, and then it stopped. For a split second, everything was still, like the calm before a storm. But it wasn't a storm. No, this was something entirely different. In that moment across the world, people knew something was coming, but they didn't know what, and they didn't know why. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. The rumbling was subtle at first, a low tremor beneath their feet that made it feel as though the earth itself was breathing. But it didn't stop. It grew stronger, the earth rumbling more violently now. Buildings creaked and groaned, and people stumbled, clutching at anything they could to stay upright. Something was descending from the sky, and it wasn't going to be gentle. Then, without warning, a massive object appeared, breaking through the dark clouds above. It was enormous, far bigger than any aircraft humanity had ever built, its shape unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It was long, sleek, and seemed to shimmer with a strange metallic glow. It glided silently through the air, its edges sharp and its presence commanding. It wasn't just an object. It felt alive, like it had a purpose far beyond anything humanity could comprehend. People gasped and screamed, some rushing to their windows, others running outside, desperate to get a better view of what was happening. As the object descended, its shadow spread across the land, blotting out the sun and turning day into eerie twilight. The air seemed to freeze. No one moved. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for whatever was about to happen next. With a soft hiss, the object slowed its descent and touched the ground. The earth shook once more, but this time it was different. It wasn't the tremor of impact. It was the feeling of something ancient, something powerful, making its presence known. The ship, for that's what it had to be, settled on the ground with unnatural precision, its surface gleaming under the setting sun. And then the silence came, a deep, heavy silence that felt suffocating, like the world itself had gone mute. People stood frozen, watching in disbelief as a hatch at the bottom of the ship began to open. The air grew tense, thick with anticipation. What was inside? Who, or what, would step out? Slowly, figures began to emerge from the hatch. They were tall, their movements fluid and precise, almost inhuman. The first figure stepped onto the ground, and a chill ran through everyone who witnessed it. The beings were humanoid in shape, but their skin was different, an unnatural, glowing hue that shifted in the light. Their eyes were larger than any humans, reflecting an intelligence so intense it felt like they could see through every person standing there. The crowd fell silent. No one knew how to react. Fear gripped their hearts as they realized these beings were not like anything they had seen before. They were not human, not even close, and as the last of them stepped out of the ship, one of the aliens raised its arm, pointing toward the sky. A strange energy began to swirl around the being's hand, glowing brighter and brighter until it was almost blinding. Then, with a sudden burst, a wave of energy shot up into the sky, vanishing into the heavens. The ground trembled again, stronger this time, and a deafening boom echoed through the air. People screamed, some running for cover, others unable to move as the shockwave hit them, sending a fear they had never felt through their bones. What had they done? What was happening? As the alien beings stood motionless, their eyes glowing with an unspoken power, the world realized one painful truth. Humanity's place in the universe had just changed forever. The aliens had arrived, and no one knew what they wanted or how Earth could possibly fight back. The future seemed uncertain, filled with only fear and confusion. The world was holding its breath, waiting for the next move. Whatever it was, humanity was about to find out just how small they truly were in the grand scheme of the universe. The silence after the shockwave was almost worse than the noise, and it was in that silence that the truth began to settle in. The aliens had come, and the world would never be the same again. The world had not fully recovered from the shock when the next move came. Days passed, yet the alien ship remained firmly on Earth's surface. People everywhere, from the smallest villages to the largest cities, watched in uneasy silence, their eyes fixed on the craft that loomed like a dark, silent sentinel in the distance. The air was thick with tension, and though no further movement from the alien visitors had been observed, their presence weighed heavily on the planet. The governments of Earth, once united by the idea of peace and diplomacy, were now scattered, each nation struggling to react to this unprecedented event. Leaders huddled in their war rooms, surrounded by generals, scientists, and advisors, their minds racing for answers. What did these aliens want? Why had they come? Was it an invasion, or was there something else at play? Theories spread quickly. Some said they were here to conquer. Others believed they had come for resources. But no one could answer with certainty, and that was what terrified the world the most. Then, one day, a broadcast interrupted normal programming. A clear, direct message to the people of Earth. The voice was strange, not at all like any human voice, but it was unmistakably clear, despite the odd tone. The words sent shivers down the spine of every person who heard it. "We come not to destroy, but to judge." The message was short, its meaning unclear, but the implications were chilling. Judge. What did that even mean? Was humanity being tested? And if so, how? The world's leaders were left reeling, unsure of how to respond. Was this a warning or a statement of power? Behind closed doors, frantic discussions were happening. Military forces were put on high alert. The world's superpowers began to call on their most advanced technologies, prepared to defend Earth from a threat that they didn't fully understand. Yet there was one voice that cut through the chaos, a voice of reason, of calm. A scientist who had been following the aliens' movements closely made a bold statement on television. What if they're not here to fight us? What if they're here to test us? He said, his voice steady despite the fear that had gripped the world. We've seen no aggressive action, only observation. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done it already. We need to think carefully about how we approach this. His words were met with a mix of skepticism and fear, but there was truth in them. Humanity was divided. Half wanted to take a stand, to fight, to show the aliens that Earth would not be ruled. The other half wanted to understand, to communicate, to seek peace before making any decisions. And yet, no one had a clear idea of how to start. In the days that followed, Earth's leaders sent out envoys, small groups of scientists, diplomats, and military representatives, to try and make contact with the alien force. They approached the craft cautiously, their hearts pounding in their chests. The first step into the unknown was terrifying, but it was the only option. The world's eyes were on them, hoping for some kind of breakthrough, some sign that humanity could overcome this alien presence peacefully. The emissaries stood before the alien ship, watching it glow with an eerie light. They spoke words of peace, offering to listen, to understand the visitors' motives. And yet the aliens said nothing in return, their eyes fixed on the humans. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, unexpectedly, the alien ship opened, revealing a figure. It stepped out slowly, its movements fluid, its body taller than any human. This was not the same type of alien as before. The glowing eyes, the shimmering skin, all of it looked different now. The figure approached the humans, who stood frozen in place. "Who are you?" one of the human diplomats finally asked, voice trembling. The alien raised its hand and a soft, melodic sound filled the air. It was unlike any human language, yet somehow the meaning was clear. You are not ready. The words were soft but heavy, the meaning clear as the alien turned and returned to its ship, disappearing into the shadows. And just like that, they were gone. The humans left standing were left with only questions and growing unease. What did that mean? And why had they come? The aliens had not made an attack, but this strange message left behind even more confusion. The world returned to silence, but it was a different kind of silence now, one that was heavy with uncertainty. Fear, yes, but also something more: curiosity. The message left behind was a warning. But of what? A test of some kind. Humanity had been given a glimpse into something far greater than itself, and in the absence of answers, the unknown began to grow even more frightening. The diplomats, back in their own countries, reported the incident to the world. "We have only begun to understand," they said, "but we must remain cautious." But deep down, everyone knew. The real test was just beginning, and no one knew if humanity was truly ready for whatever the aliens were about to do next. The days following the mysterious encounter were filled with tension and confusion. The aliens had made their presence known, but the message they left behind was as cryptic as ever. Humanity was left to wonder, why were they here? What did they mean by "you are not ready"? It wasn't just a phrase. It was a challenge, a taunt, perhaps, and it wasn't something that could be ignored. Around the world, experts and leaders gathered, each trying to piece together the fragments of the alien encounter. Some were convinced that Earth was being tested in some way, that the aliens were waiting for humanity to prove its worth. Others feared that it was only a matter of time before the real reason for their arrival became clear, a reason that would likely spell disaster for Earth. In every major city, scientists worked around the clock, studying the ship, the alien technology, and the mysterious figure that had appeared. What was this ship capable of? Could it be reverse engineered to learn from it? Some of the most brilliant minds in the world pored over every scrap of data they could gather, but there were no answers. The technology was unlike anything they had ever seen. It defied all logic, bending the laws of physics in ways that seemed impossible. The ship appeared to be alive, its surface shifting and responding to the environment in ways that no human-made vehicle could. Meanwhile, the government and military forces across the globe took action, though no one knew what they were preparing for. Everyone had a different theory, but none of them could truly predict what would happen next. In every nation, troops were being deployed to protect key locations, just in case the aliens decided to make a move. But deep down, even the military commanders knew that no amount of force could prepare them for whatever these beings were capable of. They had seen the power of the aliens firsthand, and it was beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. In the midst of this chaos, a group of scientists proposed a radical idea. Instead of preparing for an attack, they suggested that humanity should try to communicate with the aliens. They argued that the alien visitors hadn't shown any signs of aggression, only curiosity. The figure that had stepped out of the ship hadn't attacked. It had merely observed. Perhaps there was something more to this encounter, something that could lead to a peaceful resolution. After much debate, a small, elite group of diplomats and scientists was assembled. They would make the next attempt to speak to the aliens. The world's eyes were on them as they prepared for this high-stakes mission. The pressure was immense. Failure could mean disaster for Earth, but the hope for peace, for understanding, was enough to push them forward. The group arrived at the alien ship, their hearts pounding as they approached the mysterious vessel. This time, they didn't hesitate. They were armed with knowledge, determination, and a single hope: that they could make contact, and that this encounter wouldn't end in violence. As they drew closer to the craft, they could see it shimmer in the light, almost like it was breathing. Suddenly, the ship opened again, and the same figure from before emerged. The aliens' glowing eyes scanned the humans, and once again, the silence hung thick in the air. The humans held their breath. unsure of what to expect. Was this going to be the moment they finally learned the truth? One of the diplomats stepped forward, his voice steady but filled with the weight of the moment. "We come in peace," he said, his words carrying across the still air. "We want to understand why you've come." "What do you mean by, 'we are not ready'?" The alien raised its hand, and once again the strange melodic hum filled the air. It wasn't like anything they had ever heard before. There were no words, but the meaning was unmistakable. The alien's eyes glowed brighter, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though the very air around them shifted. Then, in a voice that seemed to vibrate through the very ground beneath their feet, the alien spoke. "You are not ready, because you do not understand what you are. You are still bound by the limitations of your world. You have not yet broken free." The words hit the humans like a wave of cold water. What did the alien mean? What limitations were they talking about? Were they speaking about technology, society, or something deeper? Before anyone could ask another question, the alien turned and moved back into the ship, disappearing once again behind its shimmering walls. The group stood in stunned silence, struggling to process the encounter. The words echoed in their minds. "You have not yet broken free." The scientists and diplomats exchanged looks, uncertainty and fear clouding their expressions. The message was cryptic, but it was clear that the aliens knew something about humanity that they didn't. They saw Earth and its inhabitants as something more than they appeared to be, a species on the edge of something, but not yet ready to take the next step. The world, still reeling from the shock of the alien visitation, was left with more questions than answers. The phrase, "you are not ready," lingered in the air, haunting everyone who had heard it. The aliens were watching, waiting, and humanity had no idea what it would take to prove itself to these otherworldly beings. But one thing was certain: their arrival was only the beginning. The true test had yet to come, and the aliens would not make it easy. The question remained, would humanity be ready when the time came? The days after the alien encounter dragged on, each one feeling longer than the last. Every corner of Earth was buzzing with activity, but the answers humanity had been desperately seeking still eluded them. The cryptic message, "You are not ready," was like a heavy weight pressing down on everyone, casting a shadow of uncertainty over the entire planet. What did it mean? What was it about humanity that the aliens found lacking? The questions were endless, and every attempt to make sense of it seemed to lead to more confusion. Around the world, debates rage. Some insisted that humanity needed to prepare for war, that the aliens were only biding their time before launching an attack. They argued that Earth should show strength, that humans should build weapons capable of defending themselves against the unknown threat. Others, however, urged caution. They believed the aliens were offering a test, a chance to prove that humanity could rise above its own limitations, to show that it was ready for something greater. In the middle of this global turmoil, a new and unexpected development occurred. A small group of scientists, led by Dr. Mara Hendricks, made a groundbreaking discovery. They had been studying the technology of the alien ship, analyzing every piece of data they could gather, when they stumbled upon something shocking. The ship wasn't just advanced in technology. It was alive in some way, as though it was a sentient being in its own right. Dr. Hendricks couldn't believe it at first. The idea that a ship, an object, could have consciousness seemed impossible. But as they dug deeper, they began to uncover strange patterns in the ship's structure, patterns that suggested it wasn't just a machine. It was a living entity, one that seemed to respond to its environment in ways that went beyond technology. The ship was aware, and it appeared to be watching humanity as much as humanity was watching it. As the news spread, it only deepened the mystery. What kind of civilization could create something like this? A ship that wasn't just a vessel for travel, but a living, breathing organism in its own right. It raised even more questions. What was the purpose of such a creation? And why was it here on Earth? Dr. Hendricks became the leading expert in the study of the alien craft, but even she was unsure of how to proceed. The ship, despite its sentience, remained silent, offering no answers. It seemed to be waiting for something, but for what? Humanity's next move, or something more. Then, one day, a new message came, a broadcast directly from the alien ship. This time, there was no cryptic phrase, no confusing words. Instead, the screen flickered to life, and a figure appeared, standing in the same position as the one who had first appeared before humanity. But this time, the alien spoke directly, in a language that was unmistakably human. "We have been watching," the alien said, its voice soft, but its tone commanding. "We have seen your fear, your uncertainty. You think yourselves ready for the stars, but you are not. Your world is fragile, your minds still bound by your own limitations. You fight among yourselves, tear each other down, and yet you seek to rise above. We have been patient, but patience is not infinite." The message was clear. Humanity was still not ready. The alien's words seemed to echo the sentiment from before. Humanity was too divided, too focused on petty conflicts to understand the greater truth that lay before them. The alien was not threatening. It was simply stating a fact, one that seemed impossible to ignore. The message left humanity with no illusions. If they wanted to be ready, they would have to change. The test was not just technological. It was spiritual, mental, and social. The aliens were asking humanity to evolve, to transcend the very flaws that had held it back for so long. Dr. Hendricks and her team scrambled to analyze the message. Was it an ultimatum, or was there hope? The more they studied, the more it became clear. This was a chance to prove humanity's worth, a chance to rise above. But it wouldn't be easy. The world's leaders reacted differently to the aliens' direct address. Some called for unity, urging their nations to put aside differences and focus on the bigger picture. Others, gripped by fear, doubled down on military preparations, convinced that the aliens' words were a veiled threat. And amidst the chaos, a growing movement emerged, a movement of people who believed that humanity could rise to the challenge. They weren't afraid of the aliens. They were ready to change, to evolve, to prove that they were more than the sum of their flaws. As the days passed, tensions mounted. The alien ship remained silent for now, but everyone knew that it was only a matter of time before the next test would come. Would humanity rise to the occasion, or would it fall to its own weakness? Dr. Hendricks continued her work, trying to unlock the secrets of the ship, trying to understand the true nature of the aliens' challenge. But she knew that time was running out. Every day that passed without an answer only made humanity seem less ready. The message was clear. The test was here, and there would be no more warnings. The clock was ticking. The world had been given a chance, but the question remained, could humanity prove that it was ready for what lay ahead? The aliens were watching, and the fate of Earth rested on the shoulders of those who were willing to rise above the limitations that had held humanity back for so long. The world was on edge, teetering between fear and hope, as the message from the alien ship echoed in the hearts and minds of every person on Earth. "You are not ready." Those words haunted everyone, but they also lit a fire in many. For some, it was a challenge to rise up and prove their worth. For others, it was a terrifying reminder of humanity's shortcomings. The planet had been given a test, but no one knew exactly what that test would look like, or how they were supposed to pass it. Dr. Mara Hendricks was no stranger to pressure. As the world's leading expert on the alien technology, she had been thrust into the spotlight. Her every word was scrutinized, her every discovery followed with bated breath. But despite all the eyes on her, despite all the questions, there was still so much she didn't understand. She could only grasp at the edges of the puzzle, trying to piece together the aliens' intentions. The aliens had made it clear, humanity was not ready. But ready for what? Dr. Hendricks sat in her lab, studying the data from the ship, searching for any clue that could unlock the answer. As she reviewed the scans, something caught her eye. A hidden message embedded in the ship's data, something no one had noticed before. It was encrypted, buried deep within the complex patterns of the alien technology. After days of painstaking work, Dr. Hendricks and her team managed to decrypt the message. The words were simple, but they made her blood run cold. Your time is running out. The test begins now. There was no more room for doubt. The aliens weren't just observing anymore. They were actively testing humanity. The clock was ticking, and Earth had no idea what was coming next. What did they mean by the test? Was it a battle of minds? A war? Or something else entirely? The global response was swift. World leaders convened in an emergency summit, calling for unity and decisive action. In every nation, there was a growing sense of urgency. Military forces were placed on high alert, and every possible resource was mobilized. But for every leader who called for action, there was another calling for calm, urging diplomacy and cooperation. The message from the aliens was still fresh in everyone's mind. You are not ready. And if humanity couldn't prove it was ready, there was a very real fear that they would face the consequences. As the tension mounted, Dr. Hendricks continued her work. The encrypted message had given her more questions than answers, but it was the only lead they had. She spent sleepless nights in the lab, poring over the data, looking for anything that could give humanity an edge. But what she found only deepened the mystery. The alien ship was far more advanced than anything humanity had ever dreamed of. But it wasn't just a machine. It was a reflection of something far older, far more powerful. It was a tool, but also a challenge, a mirror that forced humanity to confront its own flaws. Then, just as the pressure seemed unbearable, the next phase of the test began. In the skies above Earth, strange phenomena began to appear. One by one, cities across the globe were plunged into darkness. Electrical grids failed, and technology seemed to malfunction at random. At first, it was thought to be a global blackout, but soon it became clear that something far more sinister was at play. The strange patterns were too deliberate, too coordinated to be a simple malfunction. Something, or someone, was deliberately shutting down the power systems. And as the lights flickered out, another message appeared on every screen. Prove that you can survive. Humanity was being tested, and this time, the challenge was clear. They weren't just facing an alien force. They were facing their own limitations. The question was no longer whether they were technologically advanced enough. It was whether they could overcome their own flaws, their own weaknesses as a species. Could they work together? Could they survive without the luxuries they had taken for granted? Could they adapt, learn, and grow? Panic spread through the streets as people struggled to adjust to the sudden loss of power and technology. But even as fear gripped the world, something remarkable began to happen. Communities that had once been divided started coming together. People who had never spoken to each other began sharing resources, working together to find solutions. Without the distractions of modern life, humanity was forced to rely on the most basic of skills, skills that had long been forgotten. Dr. Hendricks watched in awe as the world slowly started to change. The test was not about destruction or violence. It was about survival, about overcoming the weaknesses that had plagued humanity for so long. The aliens weren't interested in destroying Earth. They wanted to see if humanity could evolve. Days turned into weeks, and the world adapted. People found new ways to power their homes, rebuild communication networks, and work together to solve the problems that had once seemed insurmountable. It wasn't easy, and there were many challenges along the way. But slowly, humanity began to prove that it could survive. And just as the world was starting to find its footing, the alien ship returned, its massive form descending from the sky once more. This time, it wasn't just a visit. It was the next phase of the test. The aliens were watching, waiting to see how humanity would respond to the trials it had been given. Would Earth continue to rise above its flaws, or would it falter once more? Dr. Hendricks knew that this was the moment humanity had been waiting for. It wasn't about technology or weapons. It was about proving that they could be more than what they were, that they were capable of rising above their past mistakes. And as the ship loomed overhead, humanity's fate was once again in its own hands. The test was far from over, but for the first time since the aliens had arrived, Dr. Hendricks felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, humanity was ready after all. The alien ship hovered above Earth, its massive silhouette casting a shadow over the planet. Humanity had endured the trial of survival, but now came the true test, the moment of reckoning. The ship's return wasn't just a reminder of the aliens' presence. It was a challenge, a final exam for humanity to prove its worth. Dr. Mara Hendricks and her team were ready, but the rest of the world was unsure. Could they meet the expectations of being so far beyond them? As the alien ship remained in the sky, static crackled through communication systems worldwide. Every screen flickered to life, showing the same figure that had appeared before, its alien form standing imposingly. The voice that followed was calm, almost serene, but the weight behind it was undeniable. Humanity has shown resilience, but resilience alone will not save you. You have faced the trials of survival, but now you must prove your worth to the stars themselves. The message was clear. Survival was only the beginning. The real test was far more complex. Humanity had to prove that it could thrive, not just endure. It wasn't enough to have the will to survive. They had to demonstrate the wisdom to forge a future, one that would be worthy of the universe. Dr. Hendricks stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She had spent months studying the ship, analyzing the alien technology, but she had never expected this. It was no longer a simple matter of studying alien machines or deciphering their messages. It was a philosophical challenge, a question of humanity's future, its potential to evolve. Could the human race shed its divisiveness and reach the stars, or was it doomed to be confined to its small world forever? The message left humanity with a sense of dread and hope. The aliens had been watching closely, observing humanity's every move. It was clear now that the trial of survival was just a preparation. It had been a test of whether humans could come together in the face of adversity. And now, they were being asked to prove something much more profound. Could humanity rise above its petty conflicts, its destructive tendencies, and reach for something greater? Across the globe, the leaders of Earth scrambled to react. Some nations had begun to rebuild with surprising speed, working together to solve energy crises and create sustainable living conditions. But others were still caught in old patterns of distrust, each one more focused on securing power for their own country rather than collaborating. The pressure was mounting. Humanity had to find unity or risk failing the test altogether. Dr. Hendricks and her team continued their work, hoping that a breakthrough in their research would unlock the key to understanding what the aliens were truly looking for. They had a theory. The alien ship, despite its advanced technology, had an organic component, something alive, something more than just a vessel. Perhaps this was the key. Perhaps the aliens weren't just testing humanity's ability to survive. They were testing the ability to evolve, to adapt not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and socially. It was a test of humanity's collective spirit. Then came the twist. The ship transmitted another message, this time not through words but through an action. A beam of light shot down from the ship, striking a remote part of Earth, a barren desert that had once been home to ancient civilizations. The beam illuminated the ground, and when the light dissipated, a structure had emerged, rising from the earth like a seed that had sprouted overnight. It was not a weapon, nor was it a ship. It was a monument, towering and intricate, with alien symbols engraved into its surface. Humanity watched in awe and confusion as the structure took shape. What was it? What did it mean? The creation you see before you is a gift, the alien voice explained. A test of your unity. You are not meant to build this. You are meant to unlock it. This structure holds the key to your future. It can only be opened through cooperation, through your ability to put aside your differences and work together. If you succeed, it will be a beacon for your people, a symbol that you are ready to join us in the stars. The gravity of the situation hit hard. The world was facing an unprecedented challenge. The structure wasn't something that could be controlled by any one nation or group. It required collaboration. Real, meaningful cooperation between every country, every individual, every culture. If they failed, humanity would be judged not as a species capable of greatness, but as one unworthy of the galaxy's trust. In the days that followed, a new wave of unity began to spread across Earth. The urgency was clear. The world's governments came together, forming an unprecedented global coalition, pooling resources, knowledge, and technology in an effort to unlock the structure. Scientists, engineers, and leaders from every corner of the globe worked together, side by side, striving to solve the mystery of the monument. Yet it wasn't just technology or intellect that would unlock the structure. It was something deeper. The key lay in cooperation, in setting aside old animosities, in embracing the strength that came from unity. As the global effort continued, something remarkable happened. The people of Earth, despite their differences, began to work together in ways they never had before. Old rivalries were set aside, and new alliances were forged. The human race began to show the very qualities the aliens had been waiting for. Not just survival, but growth, unity, and a desire for something greater. It wasn't just about solving problems or building structures. It was about humanity coming together to build a future. Then, one fateful day, after weeks of effort, the structure finally responded. The alien symbols on its surface began to glow, and with a thunderous sound, the monument opened, revealing a core that pulsed with energy. The moment the structure opened, humanity knew that they had passed the test. They had proven their worth. They had shown that they were ready to join the stars, ready to reach for the universe. The alien ship hovered above them once more, the figure on the screen reappearing. You have shown us that you are ready. The test is over. You have proven that humanity is capable of greatness. The stars await you. With that, the alien ship began to ascend, its massive form disappearing into the depths of space, leaving humanity forever changed. The test had been passed, not through weapons or technology, but through unity and the strength to rise above old divisions. And in that moment, humanity understood. This was only the beginning. The stars were within reach, and the galaxy was now open to them. The aliens had judged humanity, but they had also given them a gift, a chance to evolve, to grow, and to join the greater universe. Earth was no longer just a small, fragile planet. It was a beacon of hope, ready to shine brightly among the stars.